Have you ever looked into someone's eyes and felt an entire world unfolding in that silent exchange? The last look we share often becomes a farewell that echoes in our memories. That moment when what remains unspoken weighs more than words. An instant that can change everything even without us realizing it. In relationships, communication is vital, but silences and unexpressed emotions can speak even louder. Knowing glances, shy smiles, and even expressions of pain become part of the narrative between two people. Too often, we let these moments go unnoticed, thinking there will be time to talk and understand. However, life has a peculiar way of interrupting our conversations. It's common that in farewells, a look becomes a reflection of the emotions we can't verbalize. A gaze can carry regret, love, despair, and hope. Throughout life, you may encounter situations where the last exchange of looks marks a significant moment. It might be the last day of a friend who is leaving, a mother's gaze as she bids farewell to her child, or even the last look you give to a love that has gone. These moments stick in our minds like a film we can't erase. Sometimes the silences are heavier than the words. You might feel that you should have said something, that you should have revealed your true feelings. And yet, all that remains is a look that conveys more than any speech. It's the kind of farewell that leaves a void, an absence that echoes in every corner of your life. Over time, that last look transforms into an emotional iceberg, where only the tip is visible, while the larger part remains submerged, carrying everything that was left unspoken. The pain of these silent goodbyes intensifies with time. What could have been said, the reconciliations that never happened, the feelings that were kept hidden. You realize that those unexpressed emotions can turn into regret, and no matter how hard you try to move on, that gaze lingers, as if it's waiting for you to return and finish the conversation. These experiences are universal. We all face moments when we are forced to say goodbye without words, only through the intensity of a look. Each person carries their own iceberg of emotions, and often the depth of that silence is what connects us to others. You are not alone in this sea of unspoken goodbyes, and it is this connection that makes us human. The beauty and sadness of these moments lie in their complexity. They remind us that communication goes beyond words. The look becomes a silent testament to everything we've lived through and everything we've never said. Sometimes what you don't say is just as important as what is spoken, and when words fail, the gaze becomes that safe harbor where understanding is established, even amidst emotional chaos. Cherish these moments. Learn to recognize the weight of silence and the strength of looks. After all, each goodbye carries not only the pain of parting, but also the opportunity to reflect on what really matters. The last look may be the key to understanding not just the other person, but also yourself. When you find that awareness, silent goodbyes are no longer just a source of pain, but also a lesson about love, vulnerability, and the importance of expressing what's within you before it's too late. The last look is just the beginning of a new understanding. It is an invitation for you to not only hold on to the memories, but also to transform this experience into something that drives your emotional growth. And so, amid the silence, you find your voice. This is the power of the last look, a testament to everything that has been lived and a reminder of everything that can still be said. Throughout life, you may encounter the inevitability of goodbyes. Each one carries the weight of unexpressed feelings, of words left unsaid, and of moments that could have been different. When a relationship comes to an end, whether for natural or sudden reasons, a shared glance can become a symbol of everything that remains unresolved. It's a moment that, while brief, is filled with meaning. A lack of communication can create a chasm between people. Often, you may feel unable to convey what you truly think or feel. This can be especially true in situations of conflict, where the fear of hurting the other person or being misunderstood becomes a barrier. As a result, you end up closing yourself off in your own thoughts. This silence can become a burden that you carry, reflecting the pain of a connection that was once intense, but now seems to fade away. The truth is, silence can be both a refuge and a prison. In a moment of farewell, this silence becomes even more palpable, as if the air around you thickens. You may realize that, even though the words were never spoken, the feeling of loss is real and profound. This loss doesn't just pertain to one person. It extends to all the possibilities that could have been explored. When you look into someone's eyes, you may feel that one chapter is closing, but many others remain unwritten. Specifically, you might recall times when communication faltered. What could have been an open and honest conversation turned into a build-up of resentment and misunderstandings. These unresolved feelings can manifest as regrets that follow you for a long time. You may wonder if by expressing your true feelings, you could have changed the course of the relationship. This reflection often brings with it a sharp pain, but it also presents an opportunity for learning. The importance of communication cannot be underestimated. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable and express your emotions, you open doors to deeper understanding. This practice not only strengthens bonds, but also fosters an environment where people feel safe to share their own silences. In a world that often values superficiality, finding someone with whom you can be genuine is a rare gift. However, it's not always easy. There are moments when you feel paralyzed, unable to articulate what you feel. Social pressure and the fear of judgment can inhibit free expression. It is in these situations that the last glance may become a silent scream, a plea for understanding that echoes within you. That glance is an invitation to allow yourself to feel and eventually to speak. Over time, you may realize that the weight of silence doesn't dissolve. Instead, it transforms. The absence of words may manifest as anxiety, sadness, or even regret. You may feel trapped in a cycle of constant reflection, where the repetition of memories becomes a form of mourning. This process is natural, but it's important to remember that it's also an opportunity for growth. Each farewell experience should serve as a reminder of the fragility of relationships. Life is fleeting, and the moments you share with others are precious. Therefore, it is essential not to let the fear of what may happen prevent you from expressing what you truly feel. Instead of being carried away by insecurity, you can choose to open up, even if it means facing the pain of vulnerability. Additionally, reflecting on silences can drive you to take action. When you realize that a person's gaze can contain a universe of emotions, you start to appreciate every interaction. Instead of waiting for a perfect moment to talk, you can begin to express your feelings more spontaneously. This shift can make relationships more authentic and less laden with unspoken expectations. Goodbyes can be painful, but they also offer a valuable perspective. They teach us the importance of being present, of listening, and of being heard. When you commit to sharing your emotions and paying attention to others' feelings, you create a space where connection can flourish. This doesn't mean that every interaction will be easy, but at least they will be genuine. That final glance, which conveys so much, can be the catalyst for significant change in your life. Understanding the power of silence and the impact of a look can help you cultivate healthier, more open relationships. What remains is the awareness that each interaction is an opportunity to express what you hold inside. And by doing so, you not only honor your own emotions, but also those of others. Thus, when faced with silence during farewells, remember that there is beauty in what is left unsaid, but also an invitation for you to speak. Each look can be the seed of new understanding, a chance to turn pain into learning and longing into gratitude. So cherish these experiences, for they are what truly connect us and make us human. Goodbyes are moments that test us. They challenge us to confront the reality of loss and to reflect on what truly matters in the relationships we build. Each of us has been through this. The last day of a friend who is leaving, a sudden breakup, or even the departure of a loved one. What remains is the feeling that somewhere something unfinished lingers. These moments require deep reflection on how we communicate and what we leave unsaid. When relationships approach their end, it's common for words to fail us. The weight of silence can be overwhelming. You may feel trapped in a web of emotions where the anxiety of not having expressed yourself intertwines with the fear of what the other might feel. This tension can create a hostile environment, making conversations increasingly difficult. The gaze becomes a refuge, a form of communication that, while silent, carries deep meanings. During these moments, it's crucial to understand that silence isn't always negative. Sometimes it can be a space for reflection, a necessary pause to process intense emotions. However, this silence can also turn into an obstacle. When you refuse to speak, unresolved hurt can accumulate, creating a chasm that seems impossible to cross. It's at this point that the final gaze becomes a symbol of everything that remains unspoken. Communication is a skill that we often underestimate. Talking openly about feelings, fears, and desires is not just important, it's essential for strengthening relationships. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable and express your emotions, you open doors to a deeper understanding. This doesn't mean that every conversation will be comfortable. In fact, many of them may be challenging. However, it is these interactions that shape the depth of our connections. You may find yourself needing to reevaluate your approaches in relationships. Instead of waiting for the other to guess what you feel, it's vital to express it clearly and honestly. This may seem simple, but it is often a daunting task. The fear of judgment or rejection can become a significant hurdle. However, when you commit to overcoming these obstacles, you start to create a safe space where communication flows freely. It's also important to recognize that the way you communicate directly influences the dynamics of your relationships. By fostering an open dialogue, you not only allow others to feel comfortable expressing themselves, but you also create a culture of honesty. This type of environment is where relationships truly thrive. When people feel safe to share their emotions, mutual understanding grows and silences become less heavy. Reflecting on farewells and silences can also lead to a greater appreciation for everyday interactions. You may begin to realize that every conversation, no matter how trivial it seems, is an opportunity for connection. Every exchanged glance holds potential. Instead of getting lost in routine, it's essential to cherish the small interactions. I believe that by doing this, you start to understand the richness that resides in each relationship. Moreover, farewells often teach us about the inevitability of change in life. People come and go, and that is part of the natural cycle of existence. Accepting this reality can be liberating. When you recognize that each encounter is temporary, it may encourage you to open up more, to communicate more effectively, and to appreciate the moments you share with others. This doesn't mean that the pain of loss disappears, but rather that it becomes a component of your emotional journey. Sometimes it is in farewells that you find the motivation to transform the way you relate to others. The pain of what remains unsaid can be a powerful catalyst for change. This pain can lead you to commit to being more authentic in your interactions, to express your feelings, and to seek understanding in relationships. This journey can be profoundly rewarding, bringing with it a sense of purpose. It is normal to feel a mix of emotions when facing goodbyes. Sadness may be accompanied by a desire to learn and grow. Reflecting on your experiences, you might feel more motivated to take action. Instead of letting fear of what might happen overwhelm you, you can choose to be proactive in your relationships. This decision can not only enhance the quality of your interactions, but also provide a sense of inner peace. So when you encounter a gaze that seems to say everything, you can remember the importance of being honest with yourself and with others. What could have been said, what could have been done, all of this transforms into lessons that shape your future. From these experiences, you can build a more open and authentic path in your relationships, where fear is replaced by the courage to express yourself. Goodbyes don't have to be just moments of pain. They can turn into opportunities for reflection and growth. By understanding the depth of silences and the power of a gaze, you become more capable of appreciating the complexity of human relationships. Every interaction is a chance to learn and evolve, and every gaze can be a testament to the journey we share. Therefore, when you encounter silence, remember that there is always room for expression and connection. Goodbyes are moments that test not only our emotional strength but also our ability to handle what remains unsaid. When a relationship comes to an end, whether by choice or life circumstances, the feeling of incompleteness can be overwhelming. You may find yourself thinking about everything that could have been said, the feelings that weren't shared, and the missed opportunities to truly connect with the other person. This reality is especially challenging in relationships that have been significant. Every interaction carries emotional weight, and a lack of communication can lead to a buildup of misunderstandings. It's in this context that silence becomes a burden, a load that can drag on for years depending on how you deal with these emotions. What could be a healthy exchange of feelings turns into an emotional game of hide and seek, where each person feels alone in their pain. The truth is that open communication is a skill we need to actively cultivate. In moments of tension, it's natural to retreat and feel paralyzed, but it's essential to remember that what's at stake is the strengthening of the connection. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you create space for the other person to do the same. This exchange doesn't need to be dramatic. It can be a simple acknowledgement of what you feel and think. Often, the willingness to engage in dialogue can clear up misunderstandings and create fertile ground for reconciliation. Moreover, the act of expressing your emotions can be liberating. When you voice what you feel, you give voice to a part of yourself that often gets stifled by fear and insecurity. This practice not only improves the quality of relationships, but also fosters an environment where people feel safe to share their own vulnerabilities. For this to happen, you need to be willing to listen, to understand, and to embrace what the other has to say. Active listening is a powerful tool. When you commit to genuinely listening, you often discover that the other person's concerns are more similar to your own than you might think. This connection can serve as a starting point for resolving conflicts and bringing emotions that were adrift to the surface. The eye contact that occurs during this moment can be a clear sign that both parties are willing to work together to overcome difficulties. Understanding that silence can be a sign of pain is crucial. Often, people hold back their emotions out of fear of judgment or rejection. This fear can create a vicious cycle where silence breeds more silence. You may feel trapped in an emotional maze, unsure of how to find your way out. This is an opportunity to reflect on how you can be more open and welcoming in your interactions. When faced with a goodbye, it's important to remember that it's not just about what has been lost, but also about what you can learn from the experience. Every relationship brings valuable lessons about love, empathy, and the importance of communication. Instead of dwelling on what could have been, try to focus on what you can do differently in your future interactions. This shift in perspective can be a catalyst for personal growth. Additionally, recognizing that life is made up of cycles can help alleviate the weight of goodbyes. We all go through phases, and each one contributes to our evolution. It's normal to feel sadness and regret, but it's also possible to find beauty in the lessons that these experiences offer. When you make space for this reflection, you can start to see goodbyes not as an end, but as a transition to something new. The silences that accompany farewells can be painful, but they are also moments of introspection. What do you feel in this silence? What emotions surface? This is the moment to allow yourself to feel, to connect with your vulnerability, and to seek to understand what these emotions mean to you. Self-reflection is a powerful tool that can help you process pain and transform it into something productive. Over time, you may learn to appreciate everyday interactions more. Every conversation, no matter how simple, is an opportunity to connect with someone else. Don't underestimate the power of a gesture, a smile, or a glance. These small interactions can build meaningful bonds and help strengthen your connection with those around you. Sometimes you may feel overwhelmed by the pain of goodbyes. It's important to seek support, whether from friends, family, or even professionals. Talking about your feelings can be an important step in healing emotional wounds. The support of people who understand your struggles can provide valuable perspective and help you process what you're feeling. Remember, there is no set time for getting over a goodbye. Everyone has their own pace and way of dealing with pain. Be kind to yourself during this process. Self-compassion is crucial for emotional healing. Allow yourself to feel and process your emotions without rush. Ultimately, goodbyes and the silences that accompany them are an inevitable part of the human experience. Each of us faces these moments in different ways, but we all have the capacity to learn and grow from them. When you allow yourself to explore these emotions and commit to being more honest and open in your interactions, you create space for relationships to thrive. These experiences, though challenging, are opportunities to reflect on what truly matters. By valuing your feelings and those of others, you build bridges that can withstand the test of time. Therefore, instead of fearing goodbyes, embrace them as part of what it means to be human. And above all, don't forget that each exchanged glance can be the beginning of a new story, a new opportunity for connection and understanding. Goodbyes, in their essence, are milestones in our lives. They confront us with the fragility of relationships and the inevitability of change. Each goodbye brings with it a reflection on what we truly value. You may realize that over time, the interactions you've had accumulate in your memory, forming a mosaic of experiences that shape who you are. Each person who crosses your path leaves a mark, and these marks often become clearer when you face the departure. When a relationship comes to an end, the pain can be intense. This pain is not just about the absence of the person, but also about everything that was left unsaid and the conversations that never happened. The feeling that you could have acted differently or that unspoken words could have changed the situation is common. This realization can be even more distressing when you recognize that you could have opened your heart but hesitated. The hesitation to communicate often has deep roots. The fear of what the other person may think or feel can be paralyzing. This inhibition can cause you to shut yourself off in your own thoughts, creating a cycle of silence that becomes increasingly difficult to break. However, this situation also presents an opportunity. By recognizing this pattern, you can begin to work on overcoming it, seeking a more open and honest approach in your relationships. Clear and direct communication is a fundamental pillar of healthy relationships. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable and share your feelings, you create a space where the other person feels safe to do the same. Honesty in interactions not only strengthens bonds, but also builds a foundation of trust. This trust is essential, especially when conversations are difficult or misunderstandings arise. Effective communication involves more than just talking. It also includes listening. Often you can get distracted by your own emotions and concerns, missing the chance to understand what the other person is experiencing. Practicing active listening not only demonstrates empathy, but also helps clarify misunderstandings before they become barriers. When you commit to truly listening, you may find that the other person's concerns are similar to your own. What emerges during these conversations can be surprising. Sometimes you may realize that the other person was also holding back, fearing the vulnerability that communication can bring. This mutual recognition can be an important first step in healing wounds and restoring connections. However, it's necessary to be willing to engage in these conversations, even when they are uncomfortable. As you reflect on your past experiences, it's vital to consider how farewells have shaped your perspective. Perhaps you've learned that each interaction is an opportunity, and that a lack of communication can lead to lasting regrets. This awareness can turn into a commitment to be more open in the future. Instead of waiting for the right moment to arrive, you can decide that every moment is the right moment to express yourself. Life is full of uncertainties, and this reality can be frightening. However, this uncertainty can also be liberating. When you accept that farewells are an inevitable part of life, you can begin to see each interaction as a chance to make a difference. This could mean being kinder, more honest, or more present. Every action matters, and every moment can become significant. Over time, you might realize that goodbyes are not the end, but rather a transition. They can create space for new opportunities and new relationships. Every time you say goodbye, you also have the chance to learn something new about yourself and how you relate to others. This awareness can help you cultivate a more positive approach to the changes that life brings. Furthermore, goodbyes often teach us the importance of cherishing the moments we have with others. In a world that often seems to move at lightning speed, it's easy to let days become routine. However, when you take a moment to reflect on goodbyes, you may remember that every interaction is an opportunity to create memories that last. This realization can encourage you to be more present, to enjoy each moment, and to express gratitude for the people who are part of your life. The pain of saying goodbye can thus be transformed into a motivation for you to connect more deeply with others. Instead of letting the fear of loss take over, you can choose to embrace the connections you have, dedicating time and attention to them. Every conversation, every glance, and every gesture becomes more meaningful when you see them as part of a larger whole. In the end, as you face goodbyes and the silences that accompany them, you allow yourself to grow. Each experience becomes a lesson about love, vulnerability, and the importance of communication. Instead of fearing what might happen, you can choose to be proactive, seeking to build more authentic and meaningful relationships. When facing silence during goodbyes, remember that every interaction is an opportunity to learn and grow. The beauty of being alive is that there is always room for growth and change. Every exchanged glance, every unspoken word can be an invitation to connect more deeply, transforming pain into learning and longing into gratitude. In the end, each goodbye can be not just a moment of pain, but also an open door to new experiences and new beginnings. As you navigate through goodbyes, it's essential to recognize that each one carries valuable lessons. Relationships are built on interactions, and while goodbyes can be painful, they can also be catalysts for personal growth. When you bid farewell to someone, it's not just an end. It's also a chance to reflect on what you learned from that connection. The experiences we have with others shape us. You may find that in each goodbye, there is an invitation to evaluate your own attitudes and behaviors. This can be a moment to question how you communicated, expressed yourself, and whether you were honest with yourself and with others. It's natural to feel bad for not saying something, but that feeling can transform into motivation to change your communication patterns in the future. An important aspect to consider is vulnerability. By allowing yourself to be vulnerable, you open the door to more authentic communication. Vulnerability is not a sign of weakness. On the contrary, it is a demonstration of courage. When you open up to others, acknowledging your emotions and expressing your thoughts, you create an environment conducive to deeper connections. This can lead to stronger and more meaningful relationships. Additionally, the act of saying goodbye can serve as a reminder of life's fragility. People come in and out of our lives for various reasons, and this teaches us to cherish every moment. Being aware that interactions are temporary can help you appreciate those around you more. Instead of waiting for the perfect opportunity to open up, you can start acting now, valuing every conversation and every glance. When you encounter the silence that accompanies a farewell, it's essential to understand that this silence isn't necessarily negative. It can be a space for reflection, a pause that allows you to process your emotions. However, it's important not to let that silence become an obstacle. If you feel that something is weighing on your heart, consider the possibility of opening up. This communication can help lighten the emotional load and create a sense of closure. Sometimes, the difficulty in expressing yourself is rooted in fears and insecurities. The fear of what the other person may think or feel can hinder the expression of feelings. However, by facing these fears, you may find that most people also struggle with insecurity. This shared connection can be the first step towards creating a safe space for communication. Talking about your insecurities can foster empathy and understanding, allowing both sides to feel more comfortable opening up. You might also be surprised to discover that what you're feeling is shared by others. Often, people have similar thoughts and emotions, but hesitate to express them. One person's willingness to open up can encourage the other to do the same. It's this type of exchange that strengthens bonds and helps build healthy relationships. What is revealed during these conversations can be transformative. Honesty in interactions can dispel misunderstandings and create a solid foundation for relationships. When you openly discuss your feelings, you not only find relief but also invite others to share their own experiences. This exchange of vulnerability can foster a deeper and more meaningful connection. Additionally, by considering the inevitability of goodbyes, you may feel more motivated to act. Goodbyes don't have to be just moments of sadness. They can serve as a reminder of the importance of expressing your feelings and valuing relationships. Facing the reality that every encounter can be temporary may encourage you to open up more and be present. Everyday interactions, even the simplest ones, can be opportunities for connection. A smile, a kind gesture, or a simple conversation can have a profound impact. Don't underestimate the importance of each interaction. By committing to be more present and to cherish moments with others, you can create meaningful memories that will last. Furthermore, goodbyes are an unavoidable part of life. They occur in various contexts: a friend's departure, the end of a relationship, or even the loss of a loved one. Each goodbye carries with it a unique set of emotions and reflections. It's important to allow yourself to feel these emotions without rushing to overcome them. Grief is a natural and necessary process, and everyone has their own time to cope with the pain of loss. As you navigate these emotions, you may find comfort in the idea that each goodbye is also an opportunity for growth. Every experience brings lessons about love, empathy, and the importance of connecting with others. By reflecting on goodbyes, you may discover that they are moments of learning that help you become a more aware and compassionate person. When you allow yourself to explore these emotions, you also open the door to self-reflection. Ask yourself what you've learned from each relationship, how your interactions have shaped you, and how you can apply those lessons in the future. This reflection can be a powerful catalyst for personal growth and for strengthening your relationships. Additionally, it's essential to remember that communication isn't limited to just words. Gestures, glances, and even silences play an important role in human interactions. Every expression is a form of communication that can convey deep feelings. Learning to interpret these nuances can help enrich your relationships and create a deeper understanding between you and the people around you. Finally, when faced with a farewell, remember that every interaction is an opportunity for learning. The emotions that arise in these moments are valuable, as they provide insight into what truly matters to you. By embracing these experiences, you can become a more authentic and connected person, not only with yourself, but also with others. So, as you contemplate the farewells and the silences that accompany them, keep in mind that there is always room for expression and connection. Every exchanged glance can be the start of a new understanding, a chance to transform pain into learning and longing into gratitude. In the end, each goodbye can be not just a moment of pain, but also an open door to new experiences and new beginnings. Farewells, in their essence, are moments that force us to confront the reality of the relationships we have built. Each one offers an opportunity to reflect on how we communicate and how we value the connections we have. Sometimes you may realize that daily interactions, which seem trivial, are actually the foundation of the bonds we form throughout our lives. When the time comes to say goodbye, it's common to feel a mix of emotions. The sadness from the loss may intertwine with gratitude for the experiences shared. This duality is part of the grieving process. The awareness that goodbyes are inevitable can help you appreciate the moments you share with others more. Each interaction is a chance to leave a lasting impression. Moreover, it's important to remember that communication is not limited to words. Often, gestures, facial expressions, and even silence can convey deep meanings. Learning to recognize and interpret these signals can enrich your relationships and provide a deeper understanding of what others are feeling. The willingness to open up and express your feelings is essential for building healthy relationships. This can be challenging, especially in situations where you feel vulnerable. However, by allowing yourself to be honest about your emotions, you open the door to a more meaningful connection with others. Goodbyes don't have to be just moments of sadness. They can also be an occasion to celebrate what has been lived. By focusing on positive memories and the lessons learned, you can transform pain into a drive for personal growth. This shift in perspective can help you become a more aware and sensitive person in your future interactions. Finally, when facing goodbyes, it's crucial to understand that each of them brings the chance for reflection and growth. What you learn from these experiences is what truly matters. By valuing what you feel and connecting authentically with others, you can create relationships that withstand the test of time. Each goodbye is, therefore, a new opportunity to reinvent yourself and open up to new experiences. Before you leave, do two things right now. Take a deep breath and hold on to what touched your heart today. And if it makes sense, share this story with someone who also needs to hear it.